Excited about that. Ryan Ermanni, Chad Johnson, and, of course, Tom Mazaway. We've got JB and Parker with us as well. One Lion that I think, everybody was – not everybody, but most people were shocked, I think, when Jalen Carter was on the board at 6 and the Lions did not draft him. They elected to trade back and got Jahmyr Gibbs.
Baby Rhino. That's what my boy Darius Slay called him. Baby Rhino.
Is that what he said?
That's what he called him. Baby Rhino.
So we hope and we think that Jalen Carter is going to have a long, successful career. And I, in no way, shape, or form, want to compare Broderick Martin to Jalen Carter. But the Lions did have a need at defensive line, and they got a steal in what they believe is a steal in the 5th round. Let me play for you. He was a 5th-round pick, man. Third-round pick. He was a 3rd-round pick. Still a steal in the 3rd round. Yeah. Broderick Martin, here's what Brian Baldinger had to say about the Lions' 3rd-round pick.
The Lions had 2 third-round picks. The second one was used on this nose tackle, Broderick Martin, number 98. Like, this guy is a big man that can move, and he's a space eater, and he can make some plays right here. Like, I like a guy who plays nose tackle whose shirt doesn't quite fit, can't quite pull over right there. Like, he's too big. But he also gives you a little bit of pass rush. Like, here he is. All right, so when he comes, at least he's on the edge. He's rushing on the edge. He's going to try to hump. But now you see that Corral gets outside the pocket and he forces a holding call right there. All right. He's not going to give you great pass rush, but he's going to tie things up in the middle. He's going to live in the A-gaps. Broderick Martin, Western Kentucky, big man that the Lions need.
Might not be the greatest pass rusher in the world, Chad, but he's going to stuff that middle. Just an absolutely behemoth of a man. That's a player that I think, 5th-round pick, you get him. He's going to make an impact for this defense. You watch out for him.
I would say if I'm concerned about anything of the Detroit Lions, it is that defensive line. I think that the team believes that also in some ways. The offensive line, I believe, is a top 3, top 4 offensive line in the league and has made Jared Goff look, more like an elite quarterback. I'm not as big of a fan on Jared Goff as you all. I feel like if he didn't have that line, he wouldn't be looking as solid as he is coming off that play action. When you can run the ball, you can run the ball and go play action, yes. But we'll see how the season goes. I'll even go as far as this. If Jared Goff don't win a playoff game, Jared Goff may not be in this city much longer. He got a lot of pressure on his shoulders to perform and to take the Detroit Lions and win, not go to the playoffs, and win a playoff game.
All right, Shad, let me ask you this then. First of all, we're all in the same boat with you. Ryan and I were always wanting us to draft a quarterback. We wanted Anthony Richardson. Hell, we wanted Malik Willis. We wanted anybody but Jared Goff. But we believe in the guy. We want to believe in the guy. We're seeing him grow, and we know he sits behind that line. He's not the same kind of quarterback that if he didn't have that line, he probably wouldn't be here already. Matthew Stafford was that guy, and he went and he won a Super Bowl. Nonetheless, who would you – if Jared Goff does not win a playoff game, then who is the Lions' next quarterback? Is it Hendon Hooker? Or is it a free agent quarterback coming over?
To me, it's Hendon Hooker as their next quarterback after Jared Goff, unless Jared Goff has an elite season. And I read, everybody talking in here. They
love Hendon Hooker.
I don't believe that there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that have an elite offensive line. There's probably 4 to 5 teams that have an elite offensive line that actually get the job done. The other 20-something teams in the league are dealing with holes, dealing with injuries, dealing with new guys, dealing with backups, and the quarterbacks are performing. You could talk about Tom Brady. You could talk about Aaron Rodgers. You could talk about the most elite quarterbacks in the league and the round table of offensive linemen they've had. So, no, you don't need an elite offensive line to be an elite quarterback in the National Football League. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I think absolutely about that. You looked at, we did the last 5, so this was before the Super Bowl last year, Chad. The last 5 Super Bowls, their offensive lines combined, I think, had something like 3 first-round picks.
Right.
Combined.
They build it differently.
the majority of starting offensive linemen from the 10 Super Bowl teams that play, or the 7 Super Bowl teams that played in the last 5 years were 5th, 6th, 7th, and undrafted free agents. That's how they built their lines. They were elite elsewhere. But, I mean, if you look at when Frank Ragnow was out, Evan Brown –
he did great.
Almost made the freaking Pro Bowl.
Yes.
Frank Ragnow, who we consider a top 3, top 5 center in this league, first-round pick, he goes out 2 years ago. Evan Brown, an undrafted player, nearly makes the Pro. I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate.
Yeah, he was.
I think you have 4 Lions offensive line starters that are top 5 at their position.
Sewell, Ragnow, Decker, and Jonah Jackson.
He made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
He made the Pro Bowl. Tells you he's top 5.
There you go. Something to keep an eye on. Also,
we don't get a chance to talk about the quarterback when Chad's not here. That's why I wanted to keep going with the quarterback, because we've already known our chat. We know it's Jared Goff. Don't worry, we're not trying to replace Jared Goff. We want him to win.
well, Jared Goff's going to be able to write his own story, and it starts in 11 days or so against the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, football season is fast approaching, making a money-making season. Need a lock of the week, some best bets. How about a value play? Booner has you covered. Woodward bets. Weekends all season long, starting September 2nd. Saturdays at 11, Sundays at 11:30. Booner and Friends, Woodward bets on Woodward Sports YouTube channel. Speaking of bets, if you go out to Vegas, if you look at the NFC North, just go as far as the win totals for the 4 teams in the NFC North. Let me just put them out there, and then we can talk about them, okay? Yeah. The Lions have the highest win-loss over-under at 9.5. Then the Vikings at 8.5. Bears and Packers at 7.5. Wow. Chad Johnson, you are elite in this category. You are, to me, and I'm not just saying this, guys, this is the greatest sports bettor of all time. I'm sitting next to him right now. I've been involved in probably 2-3 decades of sports betting. I have never in my life seen somebody as elite at this as this guy.
Yep.
So when you look at this, Chad, because I think that the Lions will win minimum 11 games. And my official prediction is 13-4. Depending upon what happens with Kansas City.
Doesn't surprise me you got them winning 13 games, bud.
But I don't think there's a team in this division that is better than 8-9. I think they're going to win the division by 3 games at least. So when you look at these win totals, over-unders, what do you see as a sports bettor?
I think you've seen me do some long season bets before because I might get emotional at times with friends that play on teams. So like the Raiders a few years ago. But I would say
sweated that one out.
I would say if it wasn't for their kicker, I probably would have been dead in the water. Because you don't know what's going to happen from season, from week 1 to week 3 to week 5 to week 10, whatever the case may be. Now, throughout the season, when I'm betting, I'm not taking into consideration any players. I'm not taking into consideration any matchups. I'm not taking into consideration anything but where Vegas or the bookmakers put the number at. I don't get emotionally involved in Chris Jones is out, week 1. And so I'm taking the Detroit Lions. I was taking them before or after. As a matter of fact, Chris Jones being out right now, that line's somewhere around 6.5, 7. The line didn't move to 4 or 5 because Chris Jones isn't going to be there. That being said, this Lions bet, I think in Vegas they got 80-20. 80% of the population is on the Detroit Lions over 9.5 wins.
And you don't like being with the public.
I don't like being with the public. And, I tell everybody that works on the network, don't come on here. Don't be a fan. Say it how it is. Say it, how your eyeballs see it, not how your heart sees it. Vegas isn't always that far off. So to me, that game, that season, they're going to be right there between that 9 and 10 wins. It's going to come down to that 9th or 10th win towards the end of the season.
Right. What do I always say about Vegas? What do I always
Vegas
say about
knows.
it? And if the number's 9.5, what do I tell you it's going to be?
It's going to be 9 or 10.
That's it. Those are your choices.
And for the Vikings, it's going to be 8
Yep.
or 9.
I like 9.
Now, can the Lions get in and get into the playoffs and wreak some havoc once they get into the playoffs? Yes, but in no way do they have to win double digits. 9 wins with these teams beating up on each other can definitely make the playoffs. They have the Bears at 7.5.
That's high.
That's a big jump from them. That's
they
a big
got
jump.
Green Bay at 7.5, and they got the Vikes at 8.5. So they're all scrunched together right there, 2 7.5s and 8.5, and the Lions 9.5.
I like Bears under. The other 3, I like over. I do.